Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. November.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Hello, welcome. Episode 780 to the podcast. Audio only in this episode. Sorry, taking care of something real quick. Audio only. Don't have the time for a video, but I was at the Garden yesterday. I went to this game. Love the Garden, man. It's always a fun time. Every time I go to the Garden, you know, these were Christmas. This was a Christmas gift. These tickets for my parents, and last season I got the same thing. It was for a February game. I think it was Knicks Dallas, and it was like it was early February, so it was like right in the middle of when all the injuries started piling on, and it happened to be that game where I think every starting five player was out. Brunson was out. There was no Anunoby. There was no Randall, obviously, at this time. I mean, there was nobody on the floor, and they got trashed by the Mavericks as expected. So it felt good to go to a game yesterday and not only trash the other team, but to have a healthy Knicks squad. I got to watch Jalen Brunson, I think for the first time in person, or no, I might have been to when he first came here. I think I went to a game, but you know, it was good to go to a healthy Knicks game and pick up a big win. It's always fun to go to the Garden. It's very easy to get to the Garden from where I am in Jersey. I mean, it goes right underneath the arena, so fun time. It was amazing. I love New York City. We spent some time in the city before we went in the building. Something about New York City, man. Just being there is always, I don't know. Every time I'm there, I'm like envisioning myself living there. So I need to, whenever I make my move, that's the plan. I'll deal with a rat the size of a cat here and there. But hey, that was exactly what you wanted to see. Excuse me. Yeah, that's exactly it's exactly what you want to see the Knicks do in response to what happened the other day against OKC, right? You get absolutely hammered in your own home by a team you're supposed to be contending with in this disgraceful embarrassment of, I guess what we're calling a game. And they expose you for pretenders. And that's exactly what the Knicks are right now. Well, if there's one way to bounce back and work your way back to contender level and try to prove yourself as a contender, it's to do exactly what the Knicks did in that building yesterday. And they went out there and, man, they put a hurting. I mean, they beat the pulp out of a pretty solid Milwaukee Bucks team who had been playing just under 700 ball in their last 26 games entering yesterday. Remember, they got off to that terrible start But since then, they came into yesterday 18-8 in their last 26. So, to put a hammering on them, and this seems to be a good matchup for the Knicks. It felt good, and it was a close game for a little bit. We where we sat, there was a Milwaukee Bucks fan chirping for a few minutes in the first quarter there, and it bothered a lot of people around us. Even during the Knicks' solid start, it was kind of neutralized by Dame Lillard mid-first quarter, and he starts chirping away, and people were getting annoyed. And then, not long after that, Brunson erupts, and the kid shut his mouth. I didn't hear him say a single thing the rest of the way, so that was some nice, it was a nice way to shut him up. Brunson scores 23 in the first quarter, and the Knicks really start to take off in that second quarter there. When Brunson went to the bench, Karl Towns then got hot, which is a pattern. He usually gets his a little later. And then the Knicks are up double figures at halftime. Third quarter, you got the Brunson scare. Being in the building, I had no idea. I see him walking to the tunnel, and immediately I go to my phone and it says that he injured his shoulder. And I think the first thing every Knicks fan, at least I thought, was the Randall thing. It's like, here we go again. So where we sat, it was 419. We had a direct view to the tunnel. So that entire third quarter, I'm not going to lie to you, I took my eyes off the game. So much to where I watched the highlights when I got home in the second half, or the third quarter at least, because I was constantly in anxiety, and I was just staring at that tunnel. We had a direct view to that tunnel. Now he ends up coming back out late third quarter from the other tunnel, so I didn't see it until a crowd started going nuts, and I was like, where is he? And I look, he's coming out the tunnel closer to us, and so I think he's okay. He might play tonight. Again, the Knicks are playing the Pistons, so we'll see. But Deuce McBride was the de facto point guard in that period, and I thought he held his own. And Brunson comes back in. He shows no signs of slowing down. He stays hot, and the remainder of the game was garbage time. And so the Knicks win this one 140-106. And I guess we'll start with Brunson. Hand him his 13th game ball of the season. Because he was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. He scores in this game 44 points across 28 minutes and change. I mean, if this guy had played that third quarter, the normal minutes that he plays, he's probably at least at 50. At least. 44 points in 28 minutes. He shoots 16 for 26 from the floor, 7 of 8 on the foul line, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, finishing up with a plus 23 plus minus, or plus minus minus, as Clyde likes to say. What I was encouraged with was the 3-point shooting. Not necessarily the efficiency. He was 5 for 10. He was good. But I was very happy to see the volume. Seeing Brunson take 10 threes was huge. It was good to see the volume back, and especially those pull-up three-pointers, those snatch-back threes, they made a return. That's something we've been lacking lately. At first, I was like, is it a scheme thing? Is he just hesitant to shoot those threes against switching defenses or defenses that come up aggressively to the level? Is he only taking them against drop? But then, there have been games the last couple of weeks where he hasn't shot a three and the defense was in deep drop. So it was good to see the Knicks actively seek out Brunson threes. There were possessions where Precious would sprint up to set a high screen with Brook Lopez in deep drop to get Brunson to pull up. Right, and that was good to see him take 10 3-pointers. And this is a Milwaukee team. Again, they're such a good matchup for the Knicks because they can't guard Brunson in one-on-one coverage without help. They have to send help if they want to stop Brunson. And yesterday, they really weren't able to do that consistently enough. And even when the Knicks, had Brunson off ball, I like some things that I saw. Like they were running some pick and rolls, some non-Brunson pick and rolls with Brunson on the floor. They ran some floppy for him to get the ball back after they created advantages for him. And of course, Brunson doing the usual thing in pick and roll, finding his switches that he wants. He destroyed AJ Green and whatever white boy. They had a couple white boys out there. It was AJ Green and who's the other kid? Pat Connaughton, who Brunson took care of those matchups, let's say. So, good to see Brunson back in peak form, 44 points. I also liked what I saw for going to the bench from Campaign. Campaign played well yesterday. The first thing I noticed after the game, no Landry Shamet minutes yesterday. It plays a few there at the end in garbage time. But, for this game, Tibbs ran 8. He ran an 8-man rotation with Campaign getting the chunk of time. He got almost 14 and a half minutes. And he did his thing in those minutes. He scored 18 points. Shot 6 for 10 from the floor. He was 4 for 7 from 3. And 2 of 2 at the foul line. I liked the way he played yesterday right away. It was the Campaign that the Knicks need. Earlier in the season when he was really going, it was that quick trigger, right? And yesterday that made its return. Not afraid to shoot. He knows what his job is. And he was out there, with that high tempo play, pushing the pace, getting more shots up for the Knicks. And that's exactly what he needs to do. Get those 3-point looks up for the Knicks. Increase your shot volume from 3. And he helped them doing so. And again, he knocked down 4 of them. So that's the main takeaway from Campaign's performance. He was awesome. And speaking of getting shots up and the Knicks needing to do a better job of finding 3-point looks, Karl Anthony Towns has been a specific person we've talked about in, we've discussed this over the last number of episodes, how I want him to get more 3-point looks up, right? I think for the Knicks to really untap their full potential offensively, they're going to have to use help defense to open up Cat or to unlock Cat when he opens up off the help. Get Cat the ball on the 3-point line a lot more than they do. That's got to be key. We've mentioned how Towns sometimes prefers, or a lot of the time, he prefers to drive the closeout versus a small, because he's not comfortable with the perimeter defender on him and shooting or trying to get a shot up over one because of the quick hands, because of the wing ability. But he's a 40% career 3-point shooter. He's shooting 45% this year, but it's on very low volume. He's only taking 4.8 per game, which is 118th in the NBA. Now, there are some guys who are, not really qualified, played only 5-6 games in there, but point being, he's still pretty low in terms of shot volume from 3. And you look at his last 14 games, that 4.8 is down to 3.8 in his last 14 games. 3-pointers per game taken. And the Knicks as a team this season are just 24th in 3-point looks per game, 21st per 100 possessions. So, like, for a team that plays 5 out, and for a team that has one of the best stretch fives of all time, and not to mention for a team that shoots the 7th best 3-point percentage in the NBA, it's kind of unacceptable, right? Especially when you got a point guard with Brunson's gravity to, again, open up Towns. There are a little bit too many, there are way too many times. I was trying to be kind there. There are way too many times off of handoffs, pick and rolls, drives, in transition with Towns as the trailer, where he's just left open, and the Knicks instead go into a tough shot. And you're able to get away with that in the regular season a little bit, and you did yesterday. But this is less on yesterday's game. But I'm talking playoffs. Like, when you're in the playoffs and you're playing much tougher defenses, right? You're not going to be playing the Wizards. You're not going to be playing the whoever, the Pistons, right? You're going to be playing a Magic team that's maybe healthy by then. You're going to be playing if you get as far as to play the Celtics, the Cavs, and you have to play these defenses that have wingspan. You're always going to want the most efficient look. Because those shots that are falling now might not fall then. And Brunson's gravity draws a ton of help every time he drives. We've seen it. And so when Towns is one pass over from a Brunson drive, when Brunson draws the help, that must be a kick out. It has to be a kick out. Instead of going up over 2 or sometimes 3 defenders in the short mid-range area, kick it to Cat. Especially when it's the big that's helping off of Cat. You have to punish them and not punish yourself. That's not a favorable matchup for you. So I just think, like, there are too many times where the Knick offense chooses the tougher shot, or they wait too long to hit Cat off the help, and by then the defense has recovered. So I just think the Knicks need to start treating Towns for who he is a little bit more. And who that is he's one of the best and most talented shooters ever at 7 feet. He's not some big who can shoot. No, he's a shooter who happens to be a big. He's a volume 3-point shooter. That's what he needs to be. Volume 3-point shooting is way too important to ignore if the Knicks want to match up with the Celtics this year. And how the Celtics consistently spam Porzingis off of those Spain pick and rolls, those stack actions in the middle with a back screener, that's what the Knicks need to be doing. Hit him on the pick and pop a lot more than they do. When that help comes off, need to find him. I want to talk a little bit more about some of the tweaks that I need to start seeing with this Knick offense. And we'll do that when we return from our break here on BD4 episode 780. Stay with us. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment, and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. You know, man, what was interesting yesterday as I watched the game back a little bit on rewatch, I saw that, I noticed this a little bit in the game, but Milwaukee's coverages I found interesting. Now they had Giannis on Cat to bring him up on pick and rolls, and not necessarily to switch, but just to be in aggressive coverage at the level. But last time it was Brook Lopez on Towns, which was very stupid. But they made the adjustment with Giannis to Cat, and then they had Brook not on Josh Hart, which is obviously something you've been seeing lately more and more, but they had their big on OG Anunoby. Brook was on OG, which made OG the de facto 5. And they kind of just ignored him, which I want to get to. And this kind of just, it's similar to something we've discussed, and it's, the Knicks need to do a better job in counters, especially when the big is on a wing. There are way too many times where the defense knows the Knicks' intention is to always get the ball to whoever the primary action is for. And that just makes you way too predictable. It's way too straightforward, way too traditional. They have to improve their ability to read the defense when they're getting into their sets and adopt to the defense's reactions rather than overcommitting to the primary action, right? Yesterday, it didn't hurt them too much, although there were times. But when you're going to go up against elite defenses in the playoffs, you're going to see coverages like this. And if you don't change, if you don't adjust, and if you don't start being more reactive, it's going to hurt the Knicks, So they have to improve. They have to start utilizing space when they're off the ball, knowing when to cut and where to cut, not just cutting to cut, right? When the big is in paint help, don't cut to the basket. That creates bad spacing. Instead, relocate away to open up the pass lanes. By being more flexible and being more reactive, the Knicks can exploit defensive weaknesses, and they can create more scoring and passing opportunities. They can make defenses hesitate or commit to the wrong assignment, create space in driving lanes. They can free up open shooters or cutters. They can disrupt the defense's help scheme. So it's all about balance, right? Still running the primary action, but also being prepared to pivot and take advantage of the defense's response to it. Counter offense. They just have to do a better job. Do a better job getting into their secondary actions following the primary to screen or initiate, clearing the big of the paint. Right, there were some examples of it yesterday of the Knicks not doing such a great job countering and reading the defense. The first possession of the game, I think it was, there was a zoom action with OG weak side. And Milwaukee knows the action. Like, they knew the set was for Brunson. So they overloaded the paint with Brook off of OG. A few possessions later, same thing. There was an action on the strong side, and OG's on the second side. They knew the action was for Brunson ball side. So Brook brings paint help. Now, OG eventually came to screen for Brunson this time, but again, Milwaukee knew by the set being ran, they knew it was that the possession was intended to get Brunson to look. So Brook doesn't recover to OG on the pop off of the screen, and instead he stays with the Brunson drive. Just led to a tough shot. At the top of the second quarter, there was a possession where Towns drives baseline on Bobby Portis with Brook Lopez in help because OG was standing on the weak side wing and he's standing right next to Deuce. So it was just Giannis on both of them And I'm thinking there, and I'm sitting like, if OG cuts strong side, it probably opens up a pass lane because everybody else has to shift it, and that opens up an easier passing look. That happened in the first quarter too. And it's going to happen even more against elite defenses. So overall, the Knicks just need to get smarter off of their primary actions, be less predictable, hit the open wing off the help, even if the play's not intended for you, for that person. Right? Even if the play is intended for Brunson, his gravity will draw two defenders into the pick and roll. And, to the Knicks' credit, I thought they spammed OG Anunoby pick and rolls, especially in the second half, a lot to bring Brook Lopez up. But this needs to be consistently what they're doing when they have the big on Hart or OG. Or when they just bring help off of anybody weak side. It doesn't even have to be a non-shooter. It can be someone like OG. It doesn't matter. When they know the action is going to be for one guy, they need to be able to consistently react to it. Otherwise, they're going to lose the numbers game on the strong side by allowing the defense to send help to the ball. So I just want to be able to, I want them to be able to throw the defense off a little more by making better reads, stay available. Guys got to stay active, stay in action. Mix it up and go to your counters. But yesterday, I'm not exactly complaining about that. Obviously, they scored 140 points. And it was a good win. So, with that said, I think up next we've got Detroit, Philly, and Minnesota. Those are the Knicks' next three games. So they're home tonight against Detroit. We'll see if Brunson plays. It needs to be a win. It's the second of a back-to-back. I don't care. You're at home against a very mediocre Pistons team. You lost your 15-game win streak. Last time you met, you need to be able to beat them this time. And then you go to Philly on Wednesday. Sure, it'll be packed with Knicks fans, as it always is. We own you. And then you're back home Friday to rematch the Minnesota Timberwolves as they come to the Garden. It's a rematch from the... Did they play at the Garden last time? I don't remember. I know the Knicks beat them pretty badly. So with that said, we're going to head to our final break, get back, and wrap things up here with our trivia. Stay with us. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune into our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. All right. Welcome back to the show. Let's wrap this up with our trivia, and that'll be that. And this trivia question for episode 780, let me get to it real quick. Who did Jalen Brunson tie for the most, let me read that again. Who did Jalen Brunson tie for the third most 40-plus point games in Knicks history yesterday? And with how many? Who did Jalen Brunson tie for the third most 40-plus point games in Knicks history yesterday? With how many? Folks, that's gotta be it. I gotta wrap this up real quick. I got something to do. This dog's pissing in my room. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.